She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. I know that today is going to be a blessed day for you, especially after you get to meet two guests that we have joining us here. They have stories that will inspire you. They have stories of having to overcome all kinds of different types of circumstances, making new decisions, and plowing ahead to bring a different life for themselves. Because you know, here every single day, we are bringing you content to be able to help you decide what kind of success you want to have in your life. You can't live your life according to status quo and what society is telling you your life should look like. You need to define it for you. You need to look at your own character traits, your own natural talents, gifts, and abilities, and decide what is most important to you. You have your own list of priorities. Don't let somebody else tell you what they should be. And so that's exactly what two of our guests have done. They were looking at things in their life saying, is this really how I want to live? Is this how it should be? What really matters most to me? What are things that I need to change? And what will be the result of that? So, joining me today, Paul Westling, all the way from Loveland, Colorado. What a great place to live, right? Loveland, California. I want that. Colorado. I want that on my zip code. On my return address, if you will. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks for taking time to share the things that have happened in your life and improvements that you've made so that all of us can be inspired and make new choices today to improve ourselves as well.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thanks. Okay, so tell us your story. I read here that you and your daughter were kind of estranged, button heads. There were layoffs, people being laid off after those people had been with your company for 25 years. Was that a scary time? That's a scary thing for a man to look around and go, my gosh, people have been here longer than me are being laid off. What does my future look like?
Absolutely. When you look around and you see people who have been just, pillars in a company and they're disappearing, you have to question what's going on. You have to question what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Especially in the situation I was in at the time.
So did you think you were next on the layoff list?
Oh, I knew I was next. I knew it was just a matter of time.
Now, what was your profession or is your profession?
Software development.
Okay. And how long have you been in that field?
25 years.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So here you think you're the next one to get cut. What did you do? How did you fix it? How did you not get cut?
Well, job domination. No question. The things that you taught in there made me just completely change the way I looked at work, completely changed the way I looked at life, really. And I started just using some of the tools that you gave us in that program. And it was just so quick. It was amazing the way things turned around. Okay, so
give us one tip, because somebody that's listening right now, they don't even know what job domination is. So if you can explain what is job domination and what's one tip you got from there that you applied while all those major layoffs are happening, you know that you're next on the list, and how it helped you to bypass that layoff.
Wow. There's so many good tips in there. If I had to choose one, I would say the one that changed my mindset the most was realizing that I should be thinking of my position as how would the owner of the company want that position to be filled? If I were owning that company, how would I want that position that I'm in to be filled? What would I want that person to do? Yeah. And once I started looking at it from there, instead of from my own needs and wants and whatnot, then just everything changed.
So what were the things that you changed, looking from the perspective of the owner versus looking at the perspective from the employee?
It was no longer I was trying to be served while I was there. I was there. I wanted to build the company. I wanted to see it succeed. I wanted to make changes that I knew should be good in the long run and changes that I knew should be good in the short run. So instead of looking around, wondering why I wasn't getting noticed or wondering why I wasn't getting a raise or whatnot, I just started looking at how I can help move the company forward.
That's so awesome. You know what's so true, man? This just completely blows my mind, because I deal with people on a level of, where I'm helping them advance their career, doing a lot of business consulting and things like that. And I deal mostly with people who are owners of businesses and all the problems that they always have with their employees. And of course, I've been employing people for almost 27 years now. And so with that, I know my own like struggles and like, that you have. But there really is that mindset, the employee mindset, that 98% mindset is how can I get more versus how can I serve better? How can I get rewarded? And where is mine? It's almost like an entitlement. Is that kind of where you were at?
Oh, absolutely. And no question in my mind. You just described exactly where I was at. I was, what am I getting out of this? Where am I going? What am I doing? Instead of how am I moving the company forward?
Wow. And so look at that. It's like all about me, right? And that's and that hurts us from being advanced in our lives when everything's all about us and how do I get rewarded? How do I move forward in my goals? And how do I help myself get better? Versus, hold on a second, man, there's somebody whose butt is really on the line and it's the owner. The owner's the one who took the risk. The owner's the one whose neck is like, about to be slit if he doesn't figure out how to make payroll or how to advance the company or how to solve the problems that are happening. I mean, think about the problems that guy deals with every day versus one single employee that's there.
For sure. And I really found that by focusing on that instead of myself, when you focus on yourself, it's really easy to start feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And I found that when I'm focusing on a goal, when I'm focusing on moving forward, I'm working as a team, it just felt so much better. It actually gave me some purpose.
Okay, so what happened after you just made that major shift? Like you started seeing your job from the perspective of the owner, looking at what the needs truly are of that position versus what your own needs were. What happened? How did the next play work itself out with you not being laid off?
Well, I'm a software developer, so typically in that situation, your head's in front of a computer and you're just cranking out code or ideas or designs or whatever. And I lifted my head up. I started looking around, seeing how I can actually bring some money to the company, how I can actually take some of these ideas I have and share them with other people that might actually want to use the ideas or might want to have ideas of their own implemented. And I started seeing how I could get the company name out there, volunteering for events when the company was doing something, that kind of thing, just to get the face of the company out there and get the name out there and get actually some new business in.
Oh my gosh, you are the dream guy. Are you serious? And we talk about that in Job Domination.
Yeah, you sure do. Yeah.
Wow. So you literally followed directions that we teach in that 8-hour series of teaching you how to dominate the job market. And that was another one right there where it's like, no, don't just think of, okay, how can my job serve me? But how can I help this company make more money? So you started voluntarily spreading the message about your company?
Yeah, exactly right.
And the products that you guys make.
Yep, exactly right.
So you actually stepped into a spokesperson PR role voluntarily, not getting paid to do that. Voluntarily going, I'm going to PR this thing.
Yeah, and it was something I would never have done in the past because I would have been like, what good does go spending those 4 hours do for me? What is that? I don't get paid for that. Why would I do that? Okay,
so tell me, what did it do for you?
Well, the first thing it did is within a couple of months, I got a 20% raise. I got additional raises over the next following year to where I basically doubled my income.
Paul, are you serious?
Yeah, that's serious. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now, isn't that funny? These are mindsets. That's all that changed was mindsets and adding new strategies. And you increased your value at the company on a level where you got raises, a 20% raise rather than being laid off.
Yeah, sure did.
So I guess you now maybe, hindsight is 2020, right? I guess maybe you figured out how come all those other high-level 25-year in the company people got laid off.
Oh, yeah, no question. They kept their heads down.
They kept their heads down. They were dead weight. They were not producing. They were not helping the company to grow. They only had the mindset of, I'm going to get paid. I'm only going to do as much as I'm getting paid for. I am not going to advance this company, even though the company was loyal to them for 25 years.
Yeah. And I was on that path. I really, really was. I was on that path until I started getting connected with DaniJohnson.com and listening and learning.
Wow. This is amazing. You doubled your income simply by stepping outside of just what your own job description was and looking for ways to grow that business. And it was simple things. Now, do you look back and go, I could have done that a long time ago?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. And I often have that question, hey, God, why did I not do this before? And well, I think there's lots of answers to it. I had to get to a point where I could listen and where I could learn. Luckily for me, part of my story is also meeting Heather and marrying the woman of my dreams. And we were both on a path that we just had to go and learn, and he put us together.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you're recently married, last couple of years you got married, inherited a son who is gorgeous, by the way. And when we got the chance to meet him, he was just a little boy. Now he's this enormous man. Oh my gosh. I can't believe how fast that kid has grown. Okay. And then you guys have paid off debt. In fact, your entire family has been to first steps to success in creating a dynasty. And your niece actually works internally on our team, and she works on the events team as well. Your whole family, what I heard from your niece, has paid off over $1 million worth of debt. So all mom and dad, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, over $1 million worth of debt, your family has been completely relieved of. Like, you guys have gotten aggressive as a family, as a community, of living rightfully financially. And then there's all these individual stories like you, meeting the woman of your dreams, taking a hold of job domination and using those strategies during a time of layoff to, not only not be laid off, but double your income. Man, that's just like insanely shocking to me. So, Paul, how much debt have you guys paid off personally, you and your wife?
We've paid off $150,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's about to actually go up significantly because we just sold one of our homes that was also a burden before. So
wow.
Yes.
So $150,000 in debt?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, listen, we're going to take a real short break. When we come back, I want you to think of a couple of tips. I want you to speak specifically to the men, the heads of the households, who are in the same exact spot that you were in, like with your daughter butting heads, about to be laid off, not knowing why, looking at the future. It feels very, very dim. It feels very shaky. Who you were as a man, several years ago to who you are today. I want you to go back and speak to that man and give some advice because you truly are setting such an amazing example today with a doubling of income, $150,000 worth of debt lighter, a good husband, a good father. You have a lot to say. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
If you feel like your career is stuck in neutral, stay right here. Dani and Paul are going to be back with a tip that could turn everything around for you.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Okay, so look, let's say that there's just things in disarray all around you, right? Sometimes that happens. Well, here on the Dani Johnson Show, we bring you content every single day that kind of causes you to have a little quick gut check, that causes you to define your life to be the kind of success that you want versus living it according to the way the masses are living, that you've got to learn new strategies, new skills, and do a gut check now and again going, am I on the right path or am I severely on the wrong path? Are you living your life according to being a victim of circumstances, or have you taken control of your own choices, your own actions, your own attitudes, and have chosen to go on a different path that will help you and your family live the life you truly desire? And I'm not talking about a life filled with stuff and burdens. I'm talking about a life that is filled with harmony and peace. And even during the times of suffering and torment, that there's still an element of peace that is taking place in there, and faith and trust that you're being able to walk in. Paul Westling, when he first stepped through the doors at First Steps to Success a number of years ago, he was in a bad place. He was a divorced man with a daughter who he wasn't getting along with, about to be laid off. He'd been a software engineer for 22 years at that point, and filled with debt and just a lot of brokenness all around him. He gets a hold of job domination. If you have not yet embarked on that program, I strongly recommend that you do, because just as we heard from Paul, he was able to bypass a layoff from the strategies inside of that training program and double his income instead of being laid off. Not only that, met and married his beautiful wife, Heather, inherited another child, a son. Today, they paid off a crazy amount of debt, $150,000 themselves, but their entire family, because Paul has brought brothers and sisters and mom and dad and nieces and nephews have all attended these training seminars, and together the family the total family has paid off over $1 million worth of debt. So, Paul, I asked you before we took that last break, I want you to go back and talk to that man that you were before you came to First Steps to Success and got a hold of job domination.
Okay. The key really is to realize that you're not where you want to be.
Yeah.
The key is to realize that you've got to learn something, and that there's no shame in not knowing something, and to go out there, learn it, start applying it. You don't have to understand it. You just have to start doing it and start walking in it, and really becoming a part of a community like this, where not only are you falling down and being picked up and doing the same to others, but you're all learning and walking the same path, and you just can't help but get there. You have to show up. Yeah. You have to just show up, start listening, start learning, and you will be amazed. You will just be amazed how quickly things can turn around, how quickly things can change that you had no idea that you even wanted to change, and they're all for the better.
Yeah, there's no question. There are so many men in today's world that feel lost. They feel helpless, hopeless, that they're just stuck in a grind and that nothing's ever going to change. Paul, what do you say to that man?
Don't accept it. Don't accept that. That is not what you were made for. That is not what you were designed for. You were designed to have honor, which I had no idea what that was before 4 years ago. You were designed to be a man. You were designed to progress. You were designed to be happy. You were designed to lead a family or lead a business or whatever your calling is. And you can get there. You just have to be able to push aside all the things that are in your way from getting there and say, all right, I'm going to take the first step. No pun intended.
And Paul's first step was attending First Steps to Success. Completely absorbing all of that information, applying specifically the things that we talk about in job domination that helped him to become more valuable, while others that were being laid off that had been there for 25 years, he managed to create so much value during that company's hard time that they doubled his income. Listen, you never know when your life is going to change, but I know this, and Paul, I know that you're a big reader of First Steps to Wealth. First Steps to Wealth, you can get a copy of it immediately. There are two chapters in here that talk about what we call employeepreneur, which is what job domination really focuses on. If this is your first time listening in to this program, we would love to give you your free copy of this book. It's almost 300 pages, but it's yours. We just knew that Walmart would not give it to you for free, and neither would Barnes & Nobles. But if you call our office right now, 866-760-8255, ask for Nate. He'd be happy to serve you and get you your copy. You pay the shipping and handling to get it to your house. We'll send you the $15 book. If you want, you can get the ebook without paying shipping and handling. But get your copy now. Again, 866-760-8255. Ask for Nate. We'll continue after this.
If you've ever wanted to make millions, change the world, be the voice for the voiceless, and have a blast doing it, then you need to spend some time with this lady right here. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job Domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to Dani Johnson, I was struggling in my business. I was drowning in debt. Me and Crystal weren't doing so well either. In the last 21 months since our first event, I paid off $36,000. We actually got engaged, which was the best part, and my business made $90,000 last year. And I've given over $5,000 to orphans this year as well. So I can tell you that this has changed my life, but I want to recommend that you come to this event and learn as much as you can from Dani Johnson.
I attended a First Steps to Success event, and after the skills I learned there, I started a home business. I've made over 5 figures in 1 month. Actually, I've generated over $90,000, which is way more than I ever did working full-time at my other job. So we have increased our income, paid off debt. More than that, though, we no longer have that pressure. It's just been such a blessing to my family. So, everything might be awesome in your life, but if you want to increase your income, pay off debt, improve relationships, live the life you've always wanted to live, I suggest you get to DaniJohnson.com and register for the next event.
After plugging into Dani Johnson, we made a covenant that we would either move forward together or we would go our separate ways. And in a matter of days, we sold his car, we bought our engagement ring, 5 months later, we were married. We paid for our wedding in cash because of the business skills that we had also learned from Dani. And we've since then more than quadrupled our income. And we've been together now, married for over a year.
And after plugging into Dani Johnson, we have paid off $196,000 in 13 months. My company has grown 90%, and I have relationships that I could never have even imagined with the ones I care most about around me.
Prior to attending my first steps to success, we were drowning in debt. We had lost a business. My second marriage was going down the toilets. I had no time and relationship with my son, and I was just a mess, and I was burning out fast. After attending First Steps and been to a few events, we have a thriving business that's gone international. We have paid off 65% of our debt. We are not just making money, but we're saving money, and we're learning how to grow money. I have got a marriage that's gone from barely surviving to thriving, and I now have 2 children with whom I have so much time. I am not burnt out, stressed out, and all I can say is you've just got to get here.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Man, that was such a great conversation with Paul Westling. And by the way, after we cut away on the break, he says, Dani, there's something I forgot to tell you. He goes, since that time, since I had doubled my income, he goes, we have now tripled it as well in the same profession, in the same job. So look at that, man. He bypassed a layoff, right? Gosh, with using job domination and using those strategies that were in there, you can do this, man. So it's like one thing to bypass a layoff and then double your income when others are being fired. And then, hello, now since that time, since that first doubling of his income, he's tripled it. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. You know what I love? I love it when I see people follow directions. It's like so simple. And wasn't that powerful what he said? He goes, even if you don't understand the strategy, even if you don't understand, the reason why she's telling you to do this, do it anyway because it works. And so sometimes we get the understanding after we try it, right? Some things we can like grab in our head and go, okay, I get why I should do that. But there are some strategies that will not make sense to you inside of job domination or things that we teach at First Steps to Success. It won't make sense. You'll justify how it won't work for you and how your situation is impossible and it's different and, so it's not going to work for you. But when you do that, you cheat yourself. And that's what I love about our next guest. Charitable Roundy, man, wait till you hear the story. Okay, look, you're young, you move to a new state, your husband gets a great job, you're making more money than you ever thought you would. What do? You do what every other American fool does. The same thing that we did. The same thing that we see in Europe and Australia and Canada and all over the world. You blow the money. You buy things you don't need. You big houses and cars and da-da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, what have we done? Charitable, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so blessed to have you today.
Thank you, Dani. Thanks for having me on here.
I'm excited about your story. I'm excited about how you and your husband followed directions and how you guys really got convicted about where you were. So tell us your story so people can be inspired. And not only that, we're going to just pull a couple things out of that story on things that you did to make these changes to get to where you're at right now.
Yeah. So, just like you said, we were young, we were newly married, and my husband actually just got laid off from his job. And that's what took us to moving to a new state was he got this new job. And for us, it's an amazing job. And it was, it paid a lot of money, a lot more money than we ever thought we would be making at the age that we were. And so, like you said, we did what everyone does, and us being, young and dumb kids, we did we went lavish. We bought the biggest house we could get. The stinking house had 6 bedrooms. There's 2 of us, and this house has, it was crazy. It was a gorgeous house, and it was awesome. And it was the bank told us we can afford this, so this is what we're gonna get. And we had this mindset of almost, you know, I mean, we had just big egos about us. Like we move away from home, from our friends, and it was almost like we wanted to show the world what we could do. And it really was like, it was a big, it was a big undertaking. Like we already had a truck payment that we were paying on, and we bought this new big fancy house, which, you know, took us to the max anyways. And then we decided, oh, well, we need a new car too. Like we can't have this old beat up junk car, you know, so we bought this new car. And yeah, like we had 2 vehicle payments. We had this big house payment. Like we were just living to the complete max. And
Wow.
it really did. It got to the point to where we were spending every single penny that we made, and it was almost declining. Like it just kept getting worse and worse. And, you know.
Okay, I have to ask you about the 6 bedrooms, okay? So there's 2 of you. You guys are living in one of the bedrooms, right? So you buy this enormous house. Were the other bedrooms empty, or did you fill them?
Well, we filled them. We found a way to fill them. You know, I mean, we thought maybe with a kid sooner or later, but that wasn't in the cards. And so we just ended up with all this junk. And that's the sad part, is that's where a lot of our money would go, is to fill this empty space.
Wow.
And it was stuff we didn't need.
Right. You know, I got to tell this story because it's going to save someone today from making a terrible financial mistake. I will never forget. My husband and I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. And while we were there, and we made a great amount of money, okay? But the San Francisco Bay Area is very expensive. And so we were looking at buying a $500,000 house, which generally is a house that was built anywhere from 1930 to 1960. That's what you're going to pay on a tiny, you know, like it's not even a lot, like you're right next door to other people. And so here we're thinking, okay, a $500,000 house is probably what we can afford. And so we hadn't talked to the banker yet. So then we're talking to the agent, and she's taking us around to show us, like, you know, what do you get for $500,000? And at the time we were renting, because I had sold my condo that was a $250,000 condo, and I had to live in it for 5 years because I bought it at the top of the market. And oh my gosh, the place drove me crazy. But nonetheless, we had not learned about real estate yet. We hadn't learned the terrible lessons that we were about to endure. So sure enough, we look at these houses, and she says to us, I mean, I was blown away of what you could get, what you couldn't get. And I think we only had 3 kids at the time, 3 or 4 kids at the time. So she says, you know what? She says, you probably should talk to my friend Mike, who's a lender, to actually see what you're qualified for. And you really need to be pre-qualified anyway. Otherwise, we're kind of wasting our time. And so sure enough, we do. We meet with Mike. Nice guy, Christian guy, family man, sweet guy. Goes to church, you know, volunteers at the Lions Club, you know, all this stuff, you know, connected like everyone's supposed to be connected. And he meets with us. And he looks at our finances. He says, why in the world are you looking at a $500,000 house? You guys can afford $1 million house. And you should have seen us. Big eyes, right? We're in our 20s, and we're like, really? We can afford $1 million house? Okay. Oh, my gosh. We were idiots. And so sure enough, we went looking at $1 million houses. So now rather than a 2,000 square foot house that we were looking at 5-bedroom houses plus an office plus a workout room, you know, maybe even a media room, and, you know, on a half an acre that's, you know, gorgeous with all the landscaping and granite countertops. I mean, hello, galore. So when you're telling this story, Karen, I'm like, been there, stinking done that. And who was the one that tempted us into buying these enormous houses that we had to fill? Who was it? Yeah, the guy selling the money.
Yep.
The guy selling the money, the guy selling the loan is like, dude, no, don't live below your means. Max yourself out. Oh, gosh. Big mistake. Huge. And it started a habit, right? And then same for you guys. It started a habit. Could you imagine if when you guys moved to this new town and he got this new job of making more money than you ever thought you guys would make, if you kept your living expenses as to what they were when he had the other job?
Man, it's hard to even imagine like the different the difference that our lives would be even now, like compared to if we would have just stuck with where we were at. We were happy before, you know, so it's like, why did we feel like we had to, like, I mean, it was just, it was our egos. Like we, you know, our income went up, so we thought our way of living had to go up too. Yeah. And it's just, I mean.
What were you trying to prove? What were you trying to prove living in a 6-bedroom house and buying new cars?
We wanted, honestly, like we wanted people to see how good we were doing. We wanted to, you know, like all of our friends and our families were in this other state and they seen us move away, and we wanted to just be like, we're doing so great. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just young kids and egos, and like we wanted to outdo everybody almost is what it was. Like, and it's sad because it doesn't work that way. No. So then you're filling this house with all this junk that you do not need. You don't even have kids, right? Right. Now you're living paycheck to paycheck, whereas when you made less money, you were doing better. Now you're making more money and you're doing worse. What brought the change? It honestly was the point where like all of everything was fighting about money. And I remember, like, we were newly married. Like, we had way better things to argue about than money. And I remember we were sitting in front of our fireplace, and it was around Christmas, because we were freaking out of how we were going to afford to buy everyone's Christmas. And we remember just being like, you know, like, what are we going to do? Like, and it was almost like instantly we were like, something has got to change. Something's got to change. Like, we are getting to the point where we can't stand each other. We're in this big house that we're not happy in. And it was all like, I remember a couple times having to wait until payday to go buy groceries. Oh my gosh. Isn't that a shock? Isn't that a shock, making more money than you guys had ever made? And yet living in this giant house with all these cars and all this junk, not having to wait till payday to buy groceries. Now, and that's the truth. That's what happens inside of these big houses. I love how transparent you are, Karen. I want to reach through the TV, hug you, and tell you I love you, kiss you, kiss you, kiss you. I'm so proud of you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue more of this story right after this.
Coming up next, if you think Karaden's story is crazy now, just wait. It gets crazier. But you have to hear what finally turned things around. It's coming up on The Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to getting started with DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, we were spending absolutely every dime that we made. We were really struggling financially. Since plugging in to First Steps to Success just 4 months ago, we started a brand new business that is doing very, very well. We've paid off $4,500 in debt, but the most important thing is my relationship with my husband has improved like dramatically. I mean, we have so much more fun together. You know, I don't know about you, maybe your finances, you're doing great, maybe you're debt-free, maybe your relationships with your spouse, with your family are great. But if not, if you have some areas in your life that feel a little out of control or there's things that you need to work on, I highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success as soon as you can.
Prior to being dragged out to First Steps to Success, I was hopeless. I had no point to life. It was a day-to-day existence, working a job I despised for people I didn't respect. Deeper and deeper debt every year. You just couldn't get on top of it. I just had no hopes or dreams, none at all, and there was no point to life. But since coming out, we paid off $280,000 worth of debt, married the woman of my dreams. I came to love my job and the people I work for. I have all kinds of hopes and dreams. I get to watch them happen every day. I don't know what your life is like, you know. There's probably tons of hope. You probably know why you live and you got places you're going, but if you don't, you need to sign up for First Steps to Success. You go to DaniJohnson.com and you click on it and be here, because your life will not be the same if you do.
Prior to First Steps to Success, I was drowning in debt. I was terrified of my bills, and I wanted to travel, but I never had the money. And since coming to First Steps to Success, in the last 14 months, I've paid off over $18,000 in debt. I've gone on 6 vacations, and I'm not terrified of my bills anymore. So if you want to learn some proven strategies to really learn how to connect with people, take your life to the next level, all while having a total blast, you need to get registered for the next First Steps to Success today.
Prior to coming to First Step to Success, we were totally struggling, totally under the weight of $640,000 worth of debt, making $20,000 a month, but living paycheck to paycheck. So when we came here, and I realized that it takes a totally different skill set to keep money, to create wealth, than it is to make money. I have totally turned around our lifestyle. We have paid off $640,000 worth of debt in 2 years. We are debt-free as of June of 2013. I don't know where you're at. You might have all your finances in order. You might have a wonderful life. Your marriage might be all perfect and your kids are behaving. But if not, if one of those things is lacking, you gotta get here. Book your next event. You need to be here. You will not regret it.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So, you know, you got the dream house, 6 bedrooms. There's only 2 of you. Young couple, newlywed, now they're fighting. Making more money than they ever thought they would. And, yeah, sitting on that mantle in front of their giant fireplace, fighting over Christmas. Realizing something has to change. Carradine from Wyoming is joining us today. I'm so proud of her, man, to be this young and to be able to learn this hard lesson this young and figure out we have to do something. Carradine, what was your next step?
Honestly, my husband made the idea of selling our house. Mm-hmm. And at that point I was like, no. I'm not doing that. Honestly, I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I love it here, you know, and I let my image of what other people would see me as get totally in front of everything. And he actually had hinted at that a couple times. But it was honestly, I ended up starting, we figured out we needed to do something to make more money. So I was already working part-time. A couple days a week outside of the house. But we just knew that something had to change. So I ended up getting the opportunity to start a business. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to be it. This is going to be what's going to help us make more money. We're going to be able to live more comfortably. Like, you know, we can, like, to me at that point, it's so sad to think about. But to me, it was like, you know, we can have more money to go do more things, you know, to buy more things and be comfortable. Like, it wasn't the fact of, I want to pay off debt. I just want to have more money.
Wow.
Because we didn't feel like we had enough. We were never satisfied, right?
Wow.
So I started this business, and through doors opening in that business, I was led to your website, DaniJohnson.com, and I checked it out and, you know, did some of your free stuff online. I did the 30-day boot camp, stuff like that. And a friend of mine that I knew through the business was actually going to your next event, which was, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later in California. And I just was like, you know, if I'm going to make big money at this, I'm going to have to invest into it, which for me, like, for somebody like me, like that, it's kind of weird that I even thought that way. But I just thought, like, if I want to go big, I got to go big. So I reached out to my husband and I just, you know, was like, hey, this is what's going on. And we watched a couple of your videos together and kind of, you know, looked at it in that direction. And I ended up booking my flight, buying my ticket, and going. Like, the way that it all happened was just completely crazy. I had never been on a plane before in my whole life.
Oh my gosh.
I never traveled anywhere. I mean, the surrounding states next to me was about it. Like, I had never been on a plane or anything. So I end up, booking this flight. I mean, a long story short, I end up booking this flight, driving 2 hours to the airport by myself that I had never been to before. I actually got lost once on the way there and, fly to this place. And I actually stayed in a room with 5 other people, 5 other girls that I had never met before in person. We knew each other over Facebook. And yeah, it was just crazy. And, coming out of that event, like I was changed. Like I knew there was something more. Like I almost felt like I had purpose, and that there was a reason why that door was opened. And I honestly, coming out, I went to that first one by myself. My husband was supportive, and he was like, go, like I'll support you and go. And I bought his ticket to the next one before I even asked him. I just called him and was like, hey, I got your ticket to go to the next one with me. And he was like, all right, well, wow. I'm blessed to have such a supportive other half that he was.
So what's happened since then?
Since then, we have, my first event was July of 2013. So it's been
2 years.
Just over 2 years. Yep. And 10 events. I'm actually going to be going in a couple weeks again, or actually in a week. It's like a week.
Yep.
But since, coming out of that, our whole lives have completely changed. I mean, my husband is the one. Seeing the change in him has been completely crazy for me looking from the outside. Like, I've always adored that man. There's a reason I married him, but we kind of lost that when we were going through all of our fighting and all of our money and all of the stupid issues that didn't matter. And honestly, the number one thing to me and to him both is we've learned to love each other again. Like we have the most amazing relationship. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and we have the best relationship. We understand each other. Our home is like a home now. And on top of that, that big house that we did have, we sold it.
Yes.
And we got out of it. And yeah, we've been able to pay off. Since we actually bought War on Debt, and we didn't really implement. We had it for almost a year, and we didn't really implement it. We kind of like touched on little places that were convenient to us, right? And it was actually June of last year. Well, July of last year that we really like hit it hard. And since then, we have now been able to pay off $126,000.
Wow! So in a year, you paid off $126,000 worth of debt, but how much was the mortgage that got paid off because you sold the house?
Oh, man. Well, let's see. The amount that we actually, we didn't really come that far out ahead on what we had bought it for and sold it for because there wasn't a lot of time.
I know, but that was a mortgage you had, and that was a debt. That debt is no longer there. So how much was the mortgage on the house?
The mortgage on the house was $240,000.
So you've paid off $366,000 worth of debt inside of 2 years since walking into your first steps.
Right.
Somehow you missed that detail, honey.
I didn't really look at it that way.
It's not a looking at it away. You sold a house, you got out of the mortgage, you paid off the debt.
Yep.
So you paid off $366,000 worth of debt in 2 years. When did you sell the house? Did you sell the house right away coming out of First Steps?
Nope.
You waited. Did you wait a year?
We actually, it was December. So it was like.
Okay, so a year and a half. In a year and a half, you guys have paid off $366,000 worth of debt. Oh my gosh. How does that feel?
It's like, it's indescribable. Like, honestly, it feels, for one thing, it feels good to live more simple. Yes. And it feels good to not have the stress of that big mortgage payment. For example, my husband is the one that goes to work every day and provides for our family. And it honestly took stress off of his shoulders of going to work for that mortgage payment. Yes. He no longer goes to work just to pay the mortgage. He goes to work to provide for us. And it's so much bigger of a picture for us now than it ever was before. And for that, God has, he's blessed us. Yes. He has blessed us more than we can even imagine. He's more present in our lives now than he ever has been. And that's why this is all happening. We have to give him all the glory for all of this because he's the one that changed my heart.
Yes.
Because that's what had to change.
Yes, it is what had to change. Wow. Karen, you have me in tears. I'm blown away by what you guys have done. Please tell your husband how proud I am of him for truly being a man, for truly being a husband, for being a warrior in the marketplace, and for doing what it takes to come out of captivity and bondage, the bondage and slavery of debt. I'm thankful to you. You guys are a young couple, and that you did not have to wait till your 40s and 50s to wake up and go, what the heck are we doing? But you made those changes early on in your marriage, and the rest of your life looks so different because you did. Thanks for joining us and sharing your story. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row, right in the center, next to some amazing people, because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years, and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experienced different things, and we experienced a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being a perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there was someone in our church, the pastor, and so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are you all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Friend, listen. Doesn't matter what path you're on right now. If you're not where you want to be, you can do an about face and learn some new strategies and skills to be able to change the financial circumstances that you're in, to change the amount of pressure that you're under, to improve the marriage, to bring it to a place that you never even thought was possible. There is some changes you can make and skills you can learn to increase your income. Quit screwing around with the status quo of success that society has sold you. Come on, you saw what that was. Today, between Paul Wessling and Charitable from Wyoming, you see so crystal clear that they were following the status quo. The status quo of success to 98% of the population is, hey, what is my job gonna give me? How much more benefits can I get? You know, serve me, Mr. Job, versus, or Mrs. Job, versus a 2%er that says, what can I give this place? How can I help this place grow? How can I increase the sales? How can I? Man, and he tripled his income, bypassing a layoff, paying off $150,000 worth of debt, and marrying the woman of his dreams. And then Charitable, right? Living the facade, living the false American dream. The big house, showing their family how successful they are, showing all their neighbors we're so good, fighting on the inside, and having to live paycheck to paycheck and waiting until the paycheck comes to buy groceries. Disgusting. But look at that. $366,000 worth of debt in 18 months paid off. Wow. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And you could hear it. You could see it in her eyes. Could you not? You could feel it exuding out of her. The peace, the joy, the fulfillment, the pressure she was able to relieve from her husband by agreeing to sell the house that he kept saying, we need to sell this thing. It's not worth it. Living a simpler life, giving. She wrote it to us and telling us, man, we give at least 10% of our income to taking care of those who are in need. Listen. Join us at the next First Steps. Call our office right now. Find out when the next one is. Come on, this is your chance. 866-760-8255. You're next. You're the next Charitable. You're the next Paul Wessling. Your family could be next. Come on, this whole family's paid off $1 million worth of debt. Between these two people that you just met today on this show, $500,000 worth of debt has been paid off. Between two people. Come on. You're next, baby. You're next. It's your turn. Follow in their footsteps. 866-760-8255. Again, 866-760-8255. Ask for Nate. Nate will serve you. He will take care of you. He will answer your questions. He will walk you along the path that he's helped to walk so many other people walk on to see this kind of success that you just heard about today. I'm telling you, friend, this is it. It's your turn. This is your time. Do not let this ship pass you by. Pick up the phone now. Get on the phone, ask for Nate, and get to the next First Steps to Success. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Make it an awesome day. Watch today's program again, and share it with friends and family members. God bless. Bye-bye.
Did you hear that last segment? Do you know someone else who needs to hear it? Go to DaniJohnson.com, find today's show, and share it online. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.